Hello Facebook, Amy here, time for another video in my 90-day video challenge, and the topic today is cost versus cost of blank. Fill in as you see fit, and hopefully I can shed some light on what I mean by that. So I'm not sure if you can see through my back windscreen, but I've just pulled up outside a car dealership. I have been back on the Gold Coast for a few days and I'm looking to get myself a car sorted. So I've got a hire car at the moment and I have pulled up at a dealership. I actually came here the other day and I'm here today to put a deposit down on a vehicle. I haven't decided exactly which one yet, but just that first step in the process. And it got me thinking about how often we and people refuse to part with their money or refuse to pay slightly more for something valuable in terms of expertise. So when I was talking to a few friends about buying a new car or buying a car, refuse to buy a new car, I think it's a waste of money, a few people said to me, why don't you just go private? You know, you're bound to get a cheaper car, you're bound to get a better deal. And it's just, particularly in recent years, not really been my approach, because I always try and see the value in my time more than anything, which is the big one I would suggest you think about when filling in the blank of this topic. So I came into the dealership and I had looked at a few used cars online that were private deals, private owners and so on, and they generally were cheaper. But when I came into the dealership, just out of curiosity, I learned so much about several makes and models of cars that I had no idea about. For example, a 5-year warranty which covers all parts and failure on the car. Servicing was included with a particular brand. I got to look at several cars in one place in one afternoon and test drove them, which saved me time, and I had lots of expertise from the guy who was helping me. I'm not a car person, my knowledge is crap. So all of those things to me was absolutely worth coming to a dealership. The customer service was fantastic, all of these things. So those are all things that I really, really value when parting with my money. And it got me thinking similarly to a lot of questions and emails that I get in my business. So cost of mentorship, cost of investing in your education, that kind of thing. I get lots of questions. The first question I always get from a lot of people on email is, what's it going to cost me to start this business? What's it going to cost me to get this education, this training? What's it going to cost me to have an appointment with you? What's it going to cost me to be mentored by you? And I kind of need to ask more questions of that person before I ever give a straight answer in terms of monetary value, because it really comes down to that person's values, what they value most. And to be perfectly honest, the major one is always going to be time. So the cost of the blank that you could fill in this example of buying a car would be, if I'd gone to a private owner to buy a car privately and it cost me less money, I could get that car home and discover that the gearbox needs replacing the following week, and that's going to cost me $5,000, and it was only $2,000 cheaper to buy this car with a private owner instead of going to a dealer. So straight away that whole concept of I must get the cheapest has gone out the window, because it's cost me money, and that is something that I wouldn't have spotted on the car. And it's exactly the same. So the cost there, cost versus fill in the blank, is cost of mistake, cost of not having the knowledge. So it's very, very similar when people say to me, what's it going to cost me to get started in this business? What's it going to cost me for your time? I kind of say to myself, well, and then I ask that person, what's it going to cost you to not do this? So the first response to an email when the business opportunity or the training is presented and what it can give you based on my experience of what it's given me, which is an incredible change of lifestyle, more time with my family, particularly recently, being able to fly back to England not long after I got to the Gold Coast and be there for my mum and my family when my stepfather passed away. Like, there is no amount of money you could put on that I wouldn't have had that opportunity to be with my family as a knock-on effect and a consequence of being in this business. And yes, it cost me money to get started, but it meant that in 3 years I'm in that position. And I would never have been in that position within that time frame had I not invested in my education, had I not invested in mentorship, had I not invested in getting started in a business, all these things. So the blank there would have been all of the above. It would have been cost of mistakes, because without my mentorship, without my community, without my training, I would have made a lot more mistakes. Cost of opportunity, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to have all that extra time, quality time with my family, particularly recently. Cost of opportunity to travel, and the cost of my time, 100%. It would have taken me way longer than 3 years to figure out the business model that I'm in, to figure out online marketing, to figure out how to find customers, to figure out how to run a business, to figure out leadership, to figure out new skills. All of those things would have taken me far, far longer than 3 years had I not had the mentorship and the education and, like I say, the community that I ultimately did spend money on, that did cost me something in terms of monetary value. So if you're someone who questions the cost of something every time you're presented with something that you're looking to purchase, to invest in, and you go around looking for the best deal, really figure out whether or not that's a good use of your time. Really figure out the cost of the opportunity of having something else. Just realised I'm in the shade, it's a bit dark. So another example, not that long ago, before I left the UK, I had a cleaner at my flat, and I used to pay for 3 hours a fortnight of cleaning, which was costing me, in monetary value, £30 a fortnight. It was £10 an hour. And people would say to me, oh, that's a bit flash, you know, couldn't you clean your own flat yourself? And I'm like, I absolutely could clean my flat myself, and I'm not above it. However, the cost of the opportunity would be 3 hours of my time, and I could be spending that time going out for lunch with my mum, or with my friends, or working out, or, you know, all these other things that I value far more than £10 of my English money per hour. I value my time more than that. I value those other activities that I could be doing. That £30 a fortnight was worth far less to me than the quality time and all the other things that I could do with those 3 hours. So I hope I'm making my point. It was just one of those sort of moments of realization, and coming to pick up the car, I was like, no, I'm not getting probably the cheapest deal, but the value that I've had out of paying that little bit extra, and I think the money it's going to save me probably over the next few years, and the peace of mind I'm going to have as a result of paying slightly more for all those things, is absolutely worth it. So bear all that in mind next time you're questioning the cost of something. Really look at the bigger picture, and I will see you in, what are we up to now? Day 4 tomorrow. Take care.